The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors, who will give you 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/The Square Ball. Dan here, along with Michael Normanton and Daniel Chapman as well, Moscow White. TSB Plus, extra stuff this week. We've got some Warnock over on Propaganda Extra, haven't we? The bonus bits of Propaganda. That's good fun. Yep. Narrowly avoiding a...
I was just trying to think if was that on the main show or the Propaganda Extra where we narrowly avoided a call from his lawyers.
Yeah, it was extra. That's why we put it over there.
Hopefully it's all the shows.
All the shows.
And maybe not narrowly, but widely.
I think we skillfully navigated around it.
We did indeed. That's over there on the feed for TSB Plus members as well, if you want to find that. Priority access to the match ball, which is bags of fun at the minute, isn't it?
Oh my word! How could you wait a second?
Win after win after win, really selling it. But details on all that, if you want to support us, thesquareball.net/plus. And a quick reminder, under a week to go now, just a few days until the voting closes for the FSA Awards. If you want to give us your backing, it's a public vote for Fan Media of the Year. We've been shortlisted in that one. Desperately need your votes. Thesquareball.net/vote, category 4, and there you will find us. And just put a little blob in the box. And then press send if you want to. You can vote in the other categories if you want, but don't feel obliged to. Just please get us the win, please. We're short of a win, aren't we? I mean, let's face it. Right then, into it. Part 1 of the show. News headlines. Right, we'll rattle through the main headlines and pick up whatever threads you want, really. Jesse's not been sacked as of 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Rumours of Deitch. I'm looking at you there, Michael.
No comment.
We've got Christmas fixture changes, yay. The under-21s are good, so we can put all our hope in them. And the women have progressed in the FA Cup as well, which is good news. So where are we starting? I mean, should we talk about Jesse not being sacked? Because nobody's talked about that this week.
I did spend most of Monday just checking Twitter thinking, come on with the announcement. We know it's coming. But then as it got to sort of towards dinner time, I was then thinking, they're hanging on, aren't they? They don't want the new manager's first game to be a pasting against Liverpool. Which is maybe fair enough.
If you want the bounce, it's got to be against Bournemouth, hasn't it?
It's probably trying to find somebody this week. Do you want to come in, take over Leeds? Oh yeah, what's the first game? Bournemouth.
I mean, it can't be easy as well for Victor having to scour the Belgian 3rd Division to get our next coach.
Well, he should. He's done the scouring. We had a list of 40 managers that they chose Jesse Marsh from. So who was second? Find one of them that's out of work, because I can't imagine anybody giving anybody who is worse than Jesse Marsh off that list a job. So they should be available.
Only slight thing there is that Jesse Marsh was his choice because he liked the Red Bull style. I'm not so sold on it at the moment. I'd like for that to change. I'd like us to win some games, but maybe, I don't know, maybe draw up the list again. Think of different parameters. Put the algorithm spreadsheet thing down. Try a different one.
Maybe Marsh will sort it out, turn it round, and we beat Liverpool, we beat Bournemouth, we beat Spurs, we go on a run, we qualify for Europe.
I mean, Red Bull Leipzig beat Real Madrid last night.
Yeah.
So that was, obviously they wouldn't have done it if Jesse Marsh was in charge, because they wouldn't have qualified for the thing.
It's awkward, because if that did happen, because it could happen, stranger things have happened in football, then Jesse Marsh turns this round. But I don't know if I would like him less. Because he'd be insufferable, wouldn't he? Can you imagine when he, like, a year from now, he'd still be going like, we had the dark times and we turned it round, so we would never ever be able to be bad again without him referring back to, well, nobody thought we had a chance and we came back and we did it. So it's
come on, being unbearable twats is the best thing that we do.
Yeah, well, no, but him being unbearable. So it's a difficult situation when you're trying to kind of like, if we're not sacking him, what is the plan? Are we actually thinking he is going to turn this round and it's going to be like an all-time redemption story that like gives the title to his autobiography or something? And then when he's made president, it'll be like, this all began. I was out. I thought I would never work in football again.
Sacked in the morning is the title of the autobiography.
There we go. I thought after losing to Fulham, I was out of football. I was out of everything. I was ready to just go back to just going around the world. He says he wants to get to 100 countries. He's on 70-something, I think. So there's another 20-odd countries to go.
It was great watching you try and work that out then. That was very enjoyable.
I can never tell if it's 15 or 25 after 75. So he could be thinking about all that now, but then, what a story it will be. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot about it if
Yeah.
he manages to bring this back and do something. So,
Well, do you know what?
and it would be good for us. It'd be
I just want Leeds to
damn
be
sight
good, yeah.
easier if he did.
Yeah, and we'll get on to the Liverpool, Liverpool preview in part 2. But on the managerial changes, obviously we've seen them in the Premier League, and it's isn't it funny how football works that because Villa have blinked and then they won straight away, and then they've put Emery in. It's obviously them being held up as the kind of the standard bearer for what you have to do under these circumstances, and it's making people more annoyed at Leeds United because Villa have done something.
I think we probably wouldn't have managed to get Emery though, would we? Because we'd have said, well, how much money is there to spend? Well, if you sell some people, maybe a bit. How many left backs have you got? None. How many strikers have you got? 2 who are both rubbish. Brilliant. Well sold. I'll see what else is available. Or maybe I'll just be happy to stay at Villarreal for a little bit longer. I suspect they've... It's annoying because at the start of the season, it felt like we might be competing with Villa for that, around that kind of mid-table-y...
Well, we are. We're competing with them at the bottom.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because Villa are a bit of a strange shadow club to us because we keep seeing the headlines of what they do. You know, they sign Coutinho and they beat us, and they get, you know, Emery and all this kind of stuff, and they sign big, expensive players, but they still end up rubbish. Like, the reason they've got Unai Emery now is because, to go back from it, they sold Jack Grealish, and they were like, oh, we're going to invest that money really sensibly, and we're all like, oh, why can't we invest sensibly? And that didn't work, so they had to sack Dean Smith. And then they brought in Steven Gerrard, and he got Coutinho, and we're like, oh, why can't we have Steven Gerrard and sign Coutinho? And that hasn't worked. Coutinho's been rubbish all season, and they've sacked Gerrard. And now they're getting Unai Emery. It's like, oh, well, why can't we get Unai Emery? So every time you hear about Aston Villa, it's because they've done something good to fix the last good thing they did that turned out to be fucking rubbish. So we
shouldn't do anything?
No, we've got to do something, but it's just kind of Villa... They annoy me in that respect, is that they keep popping their heads up as like this example of how to do things right, but
they keep getting it wrong.
Yeah. And that's the reason why they're always making these strong, decisive decisions, and they're going out. You know, the whole reason they bought Coutinho was because the money they got for Grealish, they didn't spend it well enough on new players, so they were like, we'll have to go out and sign some more. And I don't know how much Emery will have to spend, because they, you know, when you talk about the profit and sustainability stuff, Villa have gone differently to us, where they've spent it all, and then I don't know how much headroom there is left for him. So under those circumstances, he might have come to... I think he's up for... he wants to prove himself after Arsenal, doesn't he? So
it's like Jesse Marsch wanted to prove himself after the failure at Leipzig. So
yeah, I mean, this is the thing: is most managers
kissing cousins. The
one thing they have done quite well. Well, I guess no, they haven't done it well, because you think they've done it with Gerrard. Most managers, if they're out of work, have failed, and that was the thing with Jesse Marsch. Is he had just failed at Leipzig, so we're bringing him in and thinking, oh, he'll improve, he'll come back. In the way that the manager we had, he's failed and he won't be able to, but Jesse Marsch will. But then Villa have gone the other way, where Gerrard has kind of left Rangers on a peak and Emery has left Villarreal on a peak. But Gerrard didn't do any better. He just went from a peak to failing. It's, you know, everything tends towards failure in the end, doesn't it? So you're kind of trying to
happy Wednesday, kids.
Fend it off. Again?
Fend it off. Well, even, you know, Liverpool getting to this time... not even this time last season, last April or spring, they were talking about, can they win 4 trophies? And now they're looking absolute shambles. So it's kind of everything.
A club in decline.
You can't fight gravity
until they
forever.
play Leeds.
Which we'll fix that for them.
Get into that on part 2. Deitch.
We don't want him, do we?
I don't think so. Do you? I mean, the thing is, obviously, because everyone's still looking at Bielsa, aren't they? It's like you can't really talk about Marsch properly without talking about Bielsa, because the two are so inextricably linked by the club, we should say, because they spoke openly about him being a natural successor, which has proven to be hogwash. So the next guy is still going to be compared to
good
Bielsa.
use of the phrase hogwash, by the way.
Thanks.
You don't hear it very often.
Clean that pig.
Yes. And everyone's
is that what hogwash means, or is it what the
Keith Stroud's internet search history?
Everyone's going to be compared to Bielsa until somebody comes in and basically has their own style that works. Is the long and short of what I'm arguing.
I mean, it's worth saying that the Deitch stuff seems to have come around from the main source seems to be a fake Twitter account.
Yeah.
Yes, Juan Martinez, who
it may be real.
His bio says Juan Martinez, football journalist, message for business inquiries, nicknamed Juan Kerr.
Right. Yeah.
So, and his header image is a screenshot from the Just Joe podcast where he seems to have photoshopped himself in as if he's the guest.
Right.
No, I
With,
think he might have been on it.
Really?
But
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, it's noticeably not a video. It's the same still image as he has on his.
Is it a man faking a Spanish
yeah,
accent?
I think that's why I don't believe this happened. But yeah, that's where it comes from. Hogwash is food. It's what you feed to a hog.
Isn't that swill? Pig swill.
Same thing. It's kitchen refuse from Middle English. Hoggy swash was the Middle English. Refuse of the kitchen for feeding pigs. And the thing with Daesh is I can't remember Burnley, but I know they got into Europe at one point. But if you look at the kind of average position, I'm sure they probably spent most of all that time in or around the bottom three. So the idea that Daesh solves the problem that we're in, which is being too close to the bottom, I don't think that's like what he does really necessarily. It's just kind of, I think he's less of a person, he's more of a shorthand, like of why can't we just have somebody who will stop us from losing?
That's it. I mean, I keep thinking that. I
don't think Daesh has ever done
I would
it,
say
really.
Burnley's Premier League placements, though. So they are 16th, 7th, 15th, 10th, 17th, relegated.
Yeah.
So there's a mixture.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like during the seasons, were they ever like firmly top six and then they drop to 10th? Or are we talking more it's bottom six and then they rise to 10th? It's that kind of thing, isn't it? They spend
But that
most
seems to
of
be the
time-
nature of the Premier League, though, doesn't it? The
It's
other
quite a
14.
small league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
We need to go back to the world of 24.
The old sawtooth pattern, yeah. Well, if we go, there's every chance we can go back to the world of 24 if we carry on this trajectory, isn't it? I just want, obviously, everyone's said this. You've had so many tweets saying this, but because you're arrogant, you don't reply to them, Michael. You're a dreadful person. It's just had so many, haven't you? I know, I realise. I'm just joking.
The Daesh tweets, yeah.
Yeah, people saying, please have it happen just for this.
Please, no.
The purpose of
There are
the
many,
show.
many reasons I don't want Daesh.
You're not arrogant, by the way. That was just joking.
And I can't. I can't pretend that that's not one of the main ones that I'd have to do that voice on a regular basis. But
Please can it happen?
let's just have someone better,
Yeah.
someone more fun. But let's not let Victor Orta choose him.
I don't think it helps us either. We need wins, and also what we do have in the squad is attackers who should be playing better. And I think if we give Harrison, Aronson, Sinistera, Somerville, bring Dan James back, but those kind of players, if you give them more things to do rather than just pass to the D of the box at all times and run to the D of the box at all times, I think they might be able to come up with a few more interesting things in attack than we see at the moment. And so the idea of like, we'll bring in a Deitch and go ultra defensive kind of doesn't make use of what there is in the squad that could be better than it is performing. I would rather go back to attacking and trying to score more rather than try to stop the goals.
It's what Lampard's done at Everton, isn't it? He's gone a bit Deitch.
Very much so, yeah.
Sit deep and then just
Waste time,
hit people
sit
on the
deep.
break, yeah.
Yeah, but as Moscow said, I think to make the best of what we have, you need to get Sinistera, Aronson, Jackie, Somerville, whoever's in that attack. I know we have a problem with the strikers, but the people behind the strikers, I actually think they're all quite good. So get them scoring some goals.
And you can forget as well, if you do that, if you're sending, I mean, we're back to talking about width, but if you're sending Harrison and Sinistera down the bylines to cross, you're less worried about Stroke and Christensen or Ayling getting forward to provide that width, so they can stay back and you're not getting caught on the break. And it always seems to end up being Somerville the only one back. I think it's because it comes from corners. But
stick the big guy up front, etc.
Well, you're not being exposed on the break the way we are. We'll have 4 players back instead of 2 centre halves because there's less pressure on our non-wing backs,
Right.
to get forward and provide some width that the wingers that we have aren't allowed to do. So it could help immensely if we just didn't play the way that Jesse Marsch wants to. Might be. But then, a lot of it is, and you've got to accept it, is there's kind of that's teetering back to a let's play how we did under Bielsa, and we were being exposed at the end of
Just somewhere in between would be fine.
I think
if we
that's the
played
thing.
a bit of attacking football and weren't perhaps so narrow all the time. Mind you, we've got a startling revelation about width coming up, haven't we, in part 2 of this?
That's true, yeah.
Forward tease for you there.
The basic rule we're talking about there is when things aren't working, you should probably change them, which was why Bielsa ended up getting sacked, because teams kept scoring the same goal against us, more or less. And that happens now with, well, I mean, some of the marking against Fulham we're finding new ways to concede goals. We were making really sure of it, I felt, with that third goal by no one marking anyone.
And you, I was listening to propaganda, and the marking was one thing, but Liam Cooper, who should be better than this by now, but he gets caught at the throw-in. Mitrovic moves when the throw-in's about to start.
Not the old bloody moving again.
And Cooper it takes him about a half second, if not more, to react. And he's just completely, and Mitrovic is in front of him from memory, and he's completely, both feet flat on the floor, and Mitrovic is on the move receiving the ball before Cooper's gone, oh shit. And then Mitrovic is free, and it creates that domino effect where everybody is scrambling like, why is Mitrovic on the ball on the edge of our penalty area now? And then everyone's running around trying to fix it.
Panic!
And it is, they sent Liam Cooper out after the game to say 3 sloppy goals and we've got to do better. And it's like, I mean, he's not League One Liam anymore. He shouldn't be letting Mitrovic, of all people who he's played against so many times, do him that easily. And things like that are almost, you can't really... I don't know if you can have a go at Jesse Marsh for stuff like that, because...
Can we just put it all in the bin?
Wake up on a throw-in is pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if it's one of his 13 phrases, but maybe expand it to 14. And it's like...
I'm detecting a note of scorn in your voice, Moscow, but we probably don't need to go over Marsh.
What's wake up in German?
Wake up.
Over Marsh.
I love his German.
Over Marshy
What's
ground
the one
again.
he was talking about when it was... we have a midweek game. You know, the Germans have a phrase for that. It's
Mittwoch.
Mittwoch. Like,
Wach auf is what it is.
never would have worked it out.
Back off. Anyway,
poor fella.
If things do continue on a similar trajectory after the World Cup break, we do have a slightly longer wait for the resumption of our campaign. Are you happy or sad about the game being moved against Man City at home on Boxing Day to the Wednesday night at the 8 o'clock?
I mean, I do kind of hate Boxing Day games, I have to say.
Why? Interferes with your drinking?
Well, you're just generally a bit knackered still from the day before, aren't you, when you think, and it's sometimes like...
It's nice to have a day off after the Christmas day, isn't it?
It would be a bit like dragging yourself to Ellen Road just to watch us get absolutely fucking spanked all over the place as well, which I wouldn't be looking forward to immensely. Although, get to see Haaland, he's a big freak, isn't he?
Yeah.
Get to marvel at him. I mean, the bad bit really is that it pushes the Newcastle game closer to that game, doesn't it? So we don't have as much time to recover. So we've basically got a huge break and then like a couple of days to get ready for the Newcastle game, whereas they have extra time to prepare. But it's one of those things that whoever is manager at that point, it may be Jesse Marsh, they'll probably complain about it, but it's the clubs that always choose this, because whenever Amazon say, oh, we've got a new package of games, and everyone goes, oh, more money, is it? Yeah, brilliant, we'll have some of that. And then the games come around and everyone goes, oh, got all these bloody games to play. It's stupid, this. Who's agreed to this? It's like,
you did, lads.
The clubs all agreed to it because you all wanted an extra, like, 10 million quid each or whatever, and now you're stuck with it. So, I don't know, we'll probably lose both anyway.
There's the timings of the rearrangements as well, because they were...
Get in the bin.
They were late naming those games as well, weren't they? They were at least
nearly 2 weeks late, wasn't it?
2 weeks late. And then a side effect is that Leeds Rhinos have a traditional Boxing Day festive challenge fixture against Wakefield Trinity, which is supposed to play their first, their big money-spinning pre-season opener. And this year, they'd moved it to the 27th to avoid clashing with us playing Manchester City at Elland Road, and then that gets moved anyway. So,
won't somebody think of the Egg Chasers?
Well, I mean, it's them, and then it's people who... I hadn't got as far as arranging what I'm doing at Christmas yet, but pretty close to thinking, oh, well, I'll probably have to come back on Boxing Day morning instead of coming back on a different date, and people, trying to book trains at the festive period is a nightmare at the best of times, and all that kind of stuff. None of it helps. And what's the result is that some Amazon gives some money to Leeds that they don't, that nothing doesn't improve anything.
What's the point?
And Amazon makes more money too, which we actually don't need.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos might go to space sooner.
I might have to go with him. Just leave me.
Yeah, just fire me out into space. No spacesuit, that'll do. Just pump me out into the vacuum. Oh, anyway, well done to the 21s. They're pissing that league.
You've not even covered the other move.
I'm not bothered about
The West
that.
Ham game's
It's
moved
like
as well.
protecting rest periods, whatever.
I'm glad there's not a New Year's Day game because they're always shit as well.
Playing New Year's Eve though, which I think is worse.
Yeah, it probably is. I was looking forward to. I've got a mate who lives up in Newcastle as well, and I like to go up and have a night out there. So that's ruined that.
Yeah.
Why has it ruined it?
Because it's New Year's Eve, isn't it?
It would be amazing.
It's garbage. It's New
always
Year's Eve
shit.
now.
Plus, like, I probably won't go down too well at home either. How are we seeing in the new year? Not here.
I'll be under the Tyne Bridge. I was in Newcastle for the Millennium, actually.
Any good?
That's fine.
Well, there you go. If it was fine then, it should be all right. 22 years later.
Not much has changed.
It'd be 23 years later, actually.
Well, I can't do the maths on that.
Of course, that was ridiculous. Yeah, I was
22 and 365.
Never mind 22.
days.
Let's do 21s. Hey,
Oh,
that was a good segue. They're doing dead well, top of that league. They're going to win it. Great. Women also top of their league, but teams below have games in hand. But there's only one promotion place in that league, we've said before. But they are through in the FA Cup because they beat South Shields in that 5-1 away.
Tyneside.
Yeah. Well done. Do you want to sit in this chair?
Right there in Jarrow. I knew this because I looked up where that stadium was, because on the highlights it seemed to have like a big breeze block prison wall forming one end of the ground, and it's actually...
Is it? Do they play at the Gateshead Stadium? Yeah. I go past. Used to go past it a lot.
It's like a cement factory that's behind it.
Yeah.
But it's weird. The perspective made it look like it was part of the stand, but then when you looked on Google Maps, there's like a road in between, so that's interesting.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I know. I know the area well, as will anybody who's been there.
Nice part of the world.
Yeah, it's great. There's a McDonald's nearby. What more do you need? There you go, part one done and dusted. Liverpool up next with a surprising revelation about girth. Michael, looking forward to this.
The Square Ball Podcast.